Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm Monk, and today we are in Mountain Blade Bannerlords 2. Now this is one of the first videos in my beginner's guide series explaining the core mechanics to the game. The first thing that I wanted to talk about in this video at least is going to be culture and the importance of which culture you actually choose. There are definitely some benefits and some negatives with the different types of culture in this game, so that is what this video is going to be talking about. I'm going to be breaking it down and explaining the differences, the pros, the cons, and why I think you should pick whatever you should pick. And if this is the kind of video that you want to see, then don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on more guides just like this. Like I said, I am going to be covering this game in its entirety live on the console and breaking down all the mechanics. Again, if you are stuck on anything in particular, let me know down in the comments and I'll try and get that video out as soon as possible. I also wanted to note that we do have an active Discord in which we have people that are playing a game currently. So if you want to join and chat about the game, just maybe share your experiences and your journeys, as this game is kind of a game of your own personal experiences, then that link is down there for you. But anyway, let's get stuck into the video. And the first people we want to be talking about when it comes to culture is the Valandians. Now the Valandians get 5% more renown from battles and 15% more income while serving as a mercenary. Now serving as a mercenary is a great way to kind of start off your journey within this game. Basically means you get employed by one of the empires around the map and you earn money off them. It's a pretty good way, and the 15% buff really is actually a good chunk. If you want to, kind of earn your money through your sword and your shield, then maybe this is the one for you. And of course, renown is so important in the game as well, because the more renown you have, the quicker you're able to level up your clan and level up, your own personal name. So renown is very important. 5%, however, isn't that big of a deal. Now, the bit that I don't like is the negative. Every single culture comes with its own negative, and in Valandia, recruiting lords into your armies costs 20% more influence. Now, influence is another currency within the game, and it basically means that it's going to cost you that much more influence for riding around with lords, creating those bigger armies. So when you see troops running around with a ton of troops, it's because they've created an army. This means that it's going to cost you more just for having those armies, and that kind of sucks. 20% is a big boost, and I really don't like that bit about Valandians. However, the renown and the 15% on the income serving as a mercenary is pretty good. You also produce 10% production bonus to villages that are bound to your cities. This is good late game, but again, if you're already at the late game stage, then it's not going to be something you need to really worry about. Next up, we have the Sturgeons, and the first bonus they have is recruiting and upgrading infantry troops is 25% cheaper. Now, you're going to be getting a lot of troops in this game, and you're going to be upgrading a lot of troops in this game. Therefore, the 25% cheaper is a huge bonus, really huge bonus, and it's going to save you a lot of money in the future. So Sturgeons is a really good choice for saving you money when it comes to those massive armies, those massive wars, and just overall, money savings in the game. The second bonus they have is armies lose 20% less daily cohesion. So whenever you create an army, that's you and multiple other clan leaders or multiple other lords joining your group. That basically slowly degrades. They can't stay together for a huge amount of time. This means that they do get to stay together a little bit sooner. Of course, there are other ways in game to kind of tweak this and to change this and manipulate the cohesion. So it's not really a huge thing to really worry about. Then you have the 20% more relationship penalty from kingdom decisions. This can be something to really focus on. You are going to have to be, working your kingdom if you are going down the kingdom route. And so if you do choose to be the head of, your kingdom and have your own kingdom, this can have a real big impact. Like I said, the top one, recruiting and upgrading infantry troops, 25% cheaper. That is massive. And the only thing we really need to be looking at here is just the amount of money we're going to be saving throughout the entire game. Next up, we have the Empire. Now, the Empire possibly have the most land in the game, so, keep that in mind. The first bonus you get is a 20% less garrison troop wage, meaning that the more troops you have in your towns, they're there to obviously defend your towns, but you have to still pay their wages. Which is a big part of the game. Sometimes you're going to be wanting huge stacks of troops in these towns, and of course a 20% less garrison troop wage is actually rather a lot. It really is a late game bonus though. Early game, it's not going to have any effect on your game whatsoever. Secondly, we have begin in an army, or being in an army brings 25% more influence, which means you earn that currency 25% more. Influence, again, is a massive part of this game. So I quite like that one, to be fair. The negative here is that villagers' health increase 20% less, or village health increases 20% less. And of course, what that means is that the villagers in the game can get attacked, they can get razed and burnt and looted and all that jazz. It's going to take longer for them to get healthy again. Empire is an interesting culture choice. Like I said, long game, and we are talking long game here, this one can be decent. Next up, we have one of my favorites, the Asmari. The reason they're one of my favorites is because I like role-playing personally, and so I like role-playing as a trader, and that's exactly what the Asmari are. They are the desert people of the game. Caravans are 30% cheaper to build. Now, what that actually relates to is without this, I believe a caravan is 15,000. 15,000 is a huge chunk of money. When you have this, the caravans are 30% cheaper, meaning they are only cost you 10,000. Well, that's a difference of 5,000. Again, early game when it comes to actually setting up your caravans, this is a huge extra, good thing. I quite like that. That's a huge savings, means you can get your caravans up on the ground. Getting your first 10,000 in the game can be somewhat of a challenge. Getting that 15,000 is even more of a challenge. You also get a 10% less trade penalty. Again, I quite like that. Your next bonus is no speed penalty in a desert. Personally, I think the Asmari are the easiest empire to kind of take out early game. They have less armor, and so moving on those desert squares with no penalty is actually pretty bloody useful, especially if you plan on starting down there, plan on raiding those, those guys that are in there. That works quite well. The negative here is your daily wages of your troops are increased by 5%. That's right from the beginning of the game all the way up till if this game ever ends. 5% really isn't that much, so the penalty here is negligible. However, the main talk point here is that 30% cheaper caravans, and this is only really going to be good if you do plan on being a trader and if you do plan on actually setting up those caravans. The fifth empire for us to talk about is the Khazaits. Now, these guys are recruiting and upgrading mounted troops is 10% cheaper. Now, mounted troops in this game are definitely a way to go. They're very, very powerful and they work. Having an army of, cavalry works, and it just means that your army moves on the map so much quicker as well if all your troops are mounted. Therefore, you're going to be upgrading a lot of cavalry and a lot of mounted troops throughout your game. 10% cheaper is going to save you a ton of money, especially if you take into fact that leveling mounted troops and cavalry is more expensive than infantry. So if that's something you want to be looking at, then this is definitely the way to go. The second plus here is 25% production bonus to horses, mules, cows, and sheep in villages owned by yourself and by lords that you have recruited that are of the same culture. This one is, again, a very late game one. It's not going to really be a massive influence on your game, however. The negative here is you do receive 20% less tax income from all towns. Again, this is going to be a late game feature that isn't going to have any early impact on you. 20% is quite a lot here. However, I really do like the recruiting and upgrading mounted troops. Again, that is recruiting as well. So that's buying those mounted troops or hiring those mounted troops as well as upgrading them. It's a massive bonus, it really is, but that is a long game stretch, for when it comes to looking at the positives in this culture. And lastly, we have the Britons. The Britons have a 50% less penalty and 15% sight range bonus in forests. Now, if you don't know this game particularly well, and that may be a reason why you're watching this video, this map, this continent, Caradia, is covered in forest. Covered in forest. Moving through forest does take time, especially if you've got a huge army. You get a massive penalty for moving through forest. That means, like, for instance, if you have to evade other armies, or if you're going after looters, then being able to move through this forest, being able to have that 15% sight range bonus is going to be absolutely massive. Early game, when it comes to, again, moving around those looters or attacking looters. Looters in this game are quite fast, actually, to be fair. Or, again, when it comes to running away from certain armies, or, again, tracking down those armies. This is massive. I cannot overstate this enough, just how important this is. And it's possibly why Britons are one of the best cultures to pick in the game, just for that one reason alone. Next up, towns owned by Briton rulers have 1% or 1 extra militar production. Basically means your town is producing militar a little bit quicker. It's pretty good, definitely useful in the late game. And the negative here is 10% slower build rate of town products in settlements. Again, this is going to be a late game thing. 10% slower. 10% really isn't a massive thing. So there really isn't a huge negative with the Britons. And undoubtedly, I've got to say that they are the best one to pick when it comes to all-round usefulness. Of course, if you are role-playing as a trader, then go with the Asmari. But the Britons are just so good for just all-round usefulness, for getting across the map. I just see so many positives with that first one there. And that, guys, is all my thoughts on culture. If I haven't explained anything enough to you, let me know down in the comments. I'll quite happily go over it in more detail. Again, if you just want to chat about culture or something that I didn't quite go over, we do have that link for the Discord. Feel free to jump in and say hi. At the end of the day, there's no right culture to pick. You pick what you want as you play this game. The beautiful thing about Bannerlords is that you can play however you want to play. There is no right or wrong way to play, and many aspects are lost sometimes when it comes to, trying to make the perfect build. But if you want to just role play, then role play away. If you want to be a trader, like I said, the Asmari are the way to go. But that is all we have time for in this video. If this has been something that you have enjoyed, learned, or just found entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Down in the description, you will also find a link to a book that I've recently written, 7 Broken and Bound. It is a dystopian sci-fi, and within it, you follow Jack. He is a family man, and he is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and this book goes on an absolute adventure. And pre-ordering that is the absolute greatest way to support this channel right now. But even if you've just watched to the very end, a big thank you to you guys. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy and happy gaming.